Welcome to Guided by Jesus Daily Podcast, everyone. I'm Augustus,
Hey y'all, Ashley here.
and we are so glad to have you here with us today because, sometimes
Life gets tough.
it does. It throws some pretty serious curveballs our way.
It really does, and we can feel
We
lost,
can feel alone.
discouraged.
Yeah, and in those times,
You just need a little boost.
yeah, you need something to cling to.
Yeah.
And we've found that some of the most powerful sources of comfort and encouragement,
Or in the Bible.
absolutely, in
Oh.
those verses that just speak right to your heart.
That just give you that little oomph you need to keep going.
Exactly.
Mm.
And so today we wanted to share some of those verses with you.
We're going to kind of dive in together.
Yeah, let's look at some different situations that you might be going through and see what the Bible has to say about them.
Sounds good.
All right. So first off, let's say you're facing a new challenge.
A new job.
Maybe you're stepping into a leadership role at church or
You're starting a new business.
something big, and you're hit with that feeling of, I'm not enough. I know that feeling so well.
I've been there.
But you know what? Ephesians 2:10 speaks right to that. It says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus, to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do."
Wow. Think about that.
I know. It's amazing.
God prepared good works for us in advance.
It's not like we're just wandering around,
Aimlessly.
trying to prove ourselves or figure it all out.
We're not scrambling.
We're not making it up as we
He
go.
already has it figured out.
He's got a plan.
He's prepared it.
Yeah. And that's just so comforting to me.
It is. It takes a lot of the pressure off, too.
It does. Because you know what you're doing is part of his plan.
Absolutely. And I think this idea of seeing yourself as God's handiwork, like a masterpiece that he created,
I love that.
changes your whole perspective.
Yeah. You're not just some random,
Thing.
you are intentionally and wonderfully made.
And you have a purpose.
Absolutely. But, it's easy to talk about worth and purpose. But what about when you're really wrestling with that deep down feeling of low self-worth?
That's real.
Yeah. When the world's throwing all these messages at you about where your value comes from,
About what you should look like.
how much money you should make,
What you should be doing.
all those external things.
Exactly. And it's hard.
It is. And that's where I find 1 Peter 2:9 so powerful. It says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light."
Whoa. That's a lot to unpack.
It is. It's such a rich verse.
It is. So we are a chosen people,
Royal
a
priesthood
holy nation.
and God's special possession.
Wow.
And it's like all of those things are true regardless of,
What you're doing.
what you look like, how much money you make, how many Instagram followers you have.
Your worth comes from belonging to God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that can never be taken away from you.
It's unshakable.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that unshakable identity, it leads us to how we handle weakness. Because let's be honest, we all experience weakness at times.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be so paralyzing.
It can make you feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah. You want to just hide and pretend it doesn't exist.
Sweep it under the rug.
But then I come across 2 Corinthians 12:9 to 10.
Ooh. A good one.
It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weaknesses. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me."
Boasting about weaknesses, it's not something you hear every day.
I know. It's a radical concept, isn't it?
It is. But it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah. Because when we try to be strong in our own power,
We limit God.
we do.
Wow.
We're trying to do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're getting in the way of his power working through us.
We're pushing him out.
Yeah. But when we admit our weaknesses,
We make space for him.
absolutely, we say,
Yeah.
"Okay, God, I can't do this on my own. I need your help."
I need you to come in and be strong for me.
And that's when he can really show up and work in our lives.
That's when his power shines the brightest.
It's so true. It's not about denying our humanity.
No.
It's about letting God's power shine through it.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the times when we feel lost, unsure about the future, maybe even questioning God's plan for us.
In there.
Oh yeah, countless times. And that's when I cling to Jeremiah 29:10. It's a verse a lot of people know, but it bears repeating. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future."
So good.
It's just such a comfort knowing that those plans exist, even when we can't see them.
Even when we have no idea what's going on,
Yeah, when it feels like everything's falling apart,
God is still there.
He still have a plan for you.
A good plan.
A good plan. A plan for hope and a future. And, even with that promise in mind, we can still struggle with our purpose. Like, okay, God, I know you have a plan, but what is it? What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah, what's my part in all of this?
Exactly. Those are big questions.
They are.
But Psalm 139.1314 offers a beautiful starting point. It says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well."
Wow.
It's just such a beautiful reminder that we're not accidents. We are intentionally and wonderfully created.
Knit together in our mother's womb.
Yeah. And each of us has a unique purpose woven into our very being.
Before we were even born.
I know. It's just incredibly reassuring to think about that. And there are so many other verses that speak to this, too.
There really are.
Like Romans 5.8 reminds us that we're loved even in our imperfections.
Yes, even when we mess up.
Even when we make mistakes. Romans 12.2 urges us to renew our minds and align ourselves with God's will.
So that we can understand his plan for us.
Yeah, Ephesians 1.5 talks about our adoption into God's family. And that belonging is just so powerful.
It is. It gives you a sense of identity.
Yeah, sense of home. And then there's 2 Timothy 1.7, which reminds us that God doesn't just love us. He equips us with the strength and self-control we need.
He gives us the tools to face whatever comes our way.
And of course, we can't forget Matthew 28.20. No matter what we face, we are never truly alone because Jesus is always with us.
Always.
And Ashley, I'm curious, what really resonated with you today?
That verse about God's power being made perfect in weakness really stood out to me today because I think it's easy to get caught up in trying to be strong all the time.
It is.
And to hide our weaknesses.
Yeah.
But this verse is a reminder that our vulnerability isn't something to be ashamed of. It's actually a space where God can work powerfully.
That's a great takeaway. And for our listeners out there, we'd love to hear from you too. Which verse brought you comfort today? What resonated with your heart?
Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this episode encouraged you in any way, please share it with anyone who might need a little encouragement today.
Yeah, we truly believe that these verses can make a difference in people's lives.
They've definitely made a difference in ours.
Absolutely. And so remember, friends, you are deeply loved
Incredibly valuable.
and never alone.
May God bless you all.
And we'll see you next time.